talk or call our discussion that we're going to have today is basically for those that went to the summit and hopefully had a great experience there last week. Just kind of recapping, because what ends up happening a lot of times is that we all go to the summit and we get this big old fat book, and then it's like drinking from a fire hose for 3 days straight. And sometimes people drink too much and don't remember anything they learned. And then they come back home and they have all these great ideas, and then nothing gets implemented because they just get fried. And then what also happens is that when you get back home, and if you're like me, when you go on either a vacation or go on a conference, that's when your phone blows up and you get busier than you've ever had before, right? Who's had that experience before? And so going back home, you get kind of wrapped up into day-to-day life, and then you just kind of forget about what you learned and then really not implement anything. So hopefully today we'll be discussing things that you've learned at the summit, and then hopefully like think about, hey, yeah, this is something I need to do. And I love how Matt Farnham had said, not only is it that we're going to be discussing what one thing you are going to implement, but what is the first actionable item that you are going to do or step you're going to take to be able to actually do that thing. Okay. So I'm going to start calling people out here. And if you could ideally turn your cameras on, which would be phenomenal, so we can get the process started. And I'll just kind of call on some of you guys and say, hey, what is your number one takeaway from the summit, right? I know you might have a whole bunch of them, you might have taken a ton of notes, but I just want to know your first and most important thing you plan on implementing. And then what is the very first step that you are going to put or have done or going to do to be able to implement that one thing, okay? So Jessica Forrester, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself or unmuting yourself and tell us what's that one thing, and then what have you already done or what are you going to do to be able to make that happen?
Hello. Yes. Thank you. So our biggest takeaway, what we're implementing first is the listing attraction, the 100K to 100 days. We're starting tomorrow. So that's what we're doing.
So like, what exactly are you doing to be able to make that happen? What's the first step?
Okay. So Jimmy Mackin went fire with everything that he said, and he was absolutely amazing. But I came home and this weekend and I watched it again, and I paused it and I created a spreadsheet that links the different strategies to the action items, the slide, or explaining how to do it. And I did the same thing with Tom's packet for 100K and 100 days, and broke up the playbook and the tracker. So our team is starting tomorrow. We're going to look at the first 1 through 32 days, I think, or 33 days, and start there.
Okay.
And I think it's Lazy Man CMA is the first step.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're having a whole team do this, like walk it through the same. Everyone's doing the same thing. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Matt Farnham, how about you?
For us, I think the overwhelming takeaway for probably everybody was AI and just the urgency with that. And I'll tell you, kind of a light bulb for me was I've never been a early adopter. So like social media, Instagram, even putting video content out, like I'm definitely more of a late adopter. Like I was one of the last people to get the iPhone. I'm like, let me see if this is going to stick around for a while. But AI is not something we can sleep on. I absolutely see that I can't be a late adopter on this, that we need to lead the charge. So the first action for us is we got in a huddle, and now me and my client care team are committed to a few AI platforms to level up our email game, our blog that we want to start with the help of AI, the way that we can be more efficient with getting some videos edited and updates and things like that. But then we also have the agents on the team excited about AI as well. So they're also going to be tackling different AI programs, learning them once they got them kind of figured out, bringing them to the team to teach them to us. So we're kind of divide and conquer AI as a team.
Okay. I mean, it still seems like, I don't know if you guys remember that diagram where he showed like all the different AI platforms and everything that they're doing. It just seems so overwhelming. So I think just taking it one step at a time is going to be that's the only way you could do it, because it just seems overwhelming otherwise.
Well, and really the first
step
was, okay, let's identify what do we really need help with? Not just like chasing the next shiny, cool AI tool, because there's so many of them, but what's a piece of our business that needs to be improved or more efficient or simplified, and how can we find an AI tool to do that?
Absolutely. That's a great way of looking at it. Brent, can you unmute yourself and tell us were you at the summit?
No, I was not at the summit. So I'm here to just listen to what everyone else has to say.
Sounds good.
Brent's going to be working with Team Farnham in your future. So I said, hop into the masterclass.
Okay, cool. All right, Amber, were you there? Is Amber?
I wasn't there, but I watched it at the office. I think the biggest thing for me was the mindset shift, and then to attack the hardest problems first instead of starting easy. Because I do that a lot. Like, I start with like the small things I know I can do, so I want to switch and just go for it.
Yep, absolutely. It's that whole analogy of like, getting a jar and putting the rocks in before you put the pebbles in and before you put the sand in, right?
Yeah.
Like the sand tackles is easy, but at the same time, you don't get the actual hard stuff that you need to get done. So it's a great takeaway. Okay. Let's see. Mike Babakanian. You're unmuted, dude. Or you got to unmute.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. So my biggest takeaway was definitely the seller seminar. I'm going to be incorporating it. I just finished the group call they had on the seller seminar. I took a lot of good notes, and I'm going to do it at least once a month in the beginning, starting January. And here are some key takeaways I got from the call as well. I'm happy to share with the group. Is definitely include the seller seminars in every branded material that you mail out. Social media ads, any open house flyers, database mailers. One of the key things one of the agents does is if they have a listing in the farm, I thought this was very interesting. They host a seller seminar at the property and they invite the neighbors to come and attend the seller seminar for that listing. You're giving exposure to that listing. You're asking who do they know that might be interested in buying the property, but more importantly, you're meeting the neighbors and you're giving them value if they're thinking about selling in the near future. So I thought that was a genius idea. So definitely I'm tackling the seller seminar.
Okay. I think one thing with that is that if you can do it at the person's house, you want to just let them know that's what you're doing.
Well, obviously.
Well, there's no common sense in this world anymore. I think acknowledging the obvious sometimes might be worthwhile.
That's funny. Of course.
Yep. All right. Very good. All right. So who else was either there in person or saw it virtually that has like a really good takeaway that you feel like this would be an amazing thing to be able to implement? Karen Stone.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm just tuning in.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't know. I didn't see you there, but there were 6,000 people or 7,000 people. I think I really loved Mackin. I forgot what his first name was. With the CMAs. I am literally
Jimmy.
I can't even tell you how deep in the CMAs I am. For those of you in Utah or a non-disclosure state, we just got our tax bills or like our assessments and the estimates, and like almost the entire community is complaining about the values. And because we're a non-disclosure state, I have literally offered to run comps on the Nextdoor app, and I've run over 215 reports for strangers. And I felt like I literally made like a Google form. I'm using my just the MLS. But that really helped me to kind of come up with the next strategy for that, because just doing the CMA is just like the first step. Now I have their information and it's like all these people raise their hand. They all know who I am. I provided them value, and it's like, now what? So I appreciated that. And just the guy who discussed marketing, I'm blanking on his name too. Sorry, I've like been running all these comps. And where he was talking about like the brand and just great instead of marketing. I have a marketing background, and I really appreciated what he said, like so much so that I was like, I want to go back to school and like learn more about this, because it's true, right? Like we focus so much on the brokerage and what the brokerage brand is, but ultimately it's like who we are and what we say. And like I literally find myself like catching myself when I talk about a listing, I change it to a home for sale, right? Like simple, easy keyword. It's not that hard to change.
Yeah, I think calling or using the jargon that we use is so difficult because to us, it's just second nature. But for customers that we have, like they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. When I talk to lenders, it's like that all the time to me, where they use these words. I'm like, dude, can you please plain English?
Sure.
Don't understand. Awesome. Thanks for your feedback, Karen. Josh.
Yeah, I was going to touch on what Karen said. So it's Mark Davison with the 1000 watt Yeah, he was really great. That people don't buy listings, they buy homes, you know. And I talked with him in the back of the room for a while, and he was, yeah, super great. And 1,000 watts pretty cheap. I mean, it's like $250 for the year, and they send you all sorts of stuff, you know, like that. Or they can totally redevelop your brand if you want for thousands of dollars. But
It's
just
like more like 75,000.
yeah, right. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But yeah, no, he was really good. And I mean, then also my other takeaways, obviously, like the AI stuff, like, you know, trying to jump into that. I know you guys sent around your like the Chat GPT guide. And then also it's, you know, a little bit older, but like video. Like I feel like if you're not thinking about doing video at this point, like you know, and I'm not doing it, and like I really got to get into it. Like if you're not doing it or thinking about doing it, you're so behind, and you really got to jump into it. So that was my big takeaway, that, you know, I need to do video. Like if I want to continue in the business, I need to do video.
Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys follow him, you know, he just recently posted a reel that said, if you think that you've already missed the boat on video, like you haven't, just freaking get into it. Like, don't let excuses stop you from doing what you need to do to make a connection with other people. And, you know, sometimes like I'll make a video and I'll post and I'm like, oh, I only got 150 views. Like if I had a room where I had 150 people there to listen to what I had to say, I'd be like nervous and scared and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Right. But if you don't get thousands of views, you get all pissed off on social media. Like you don't have to have a video go viral. In fact, most of the videos that go viral do nothing for you, because for that to happen, that means that people around the, you know, either country or wherever are watching it that are not going to be transacting with you. So don't focus on the number, focus on just getting good content out there and being consistent with it. So I love that, Josh. Thanks for your input. Amber, is it Bidison? I can't say your last name. Or I don't know, say your last name.
It's Bidison. I didn't attend, so I'm here to learn from everyone.
Gotcha, cool. I thought you had raised your hand for a second and said something. Okay, so who else was actually physically there and has a perspective that they'd like to share?
I was there, Nazar, and I have a perspective. One thing, well, two things really stood out to me. One, the importance of doing that buyer consultation, especially us on the West Coast that haven't been dealing with the lawsuit and stuff so much. So making sure that you're doing that buyer's consultation and providing that value. And to tie that in where Tom was saying, not past clients, but clients, that we treat everybody as a client, as if we're already working with them or continuing to work with them. And we had talked earlier today in another meeting about, you know, I can't remember who mentioned it, but targeting a certain demographic, and it was the older people, and having like, you know, the magnet or whatever it is, like, so that people know that they're your client and that they're going to reach out to you, but really dialing in. And I know our team is working on that this week, of having that consultation, asking more questions, listening, and really treating your business as more than just door openers.
Okay, awesome. I'd like to share a couple of my takeaways that I thought, you know, stood out to me, is that I really feel that the problems that we all have as real estate agents could be solved by doing one simple thing, and that is talking to more people every single day. Like, because if you just imagine, if you just spoke with 10 new people that you've never talked to before and found out if they're interested in buying, selling, and investing in real estate, like all the other things are just kind of would line into place. I don't think that, you know, we are a transactional business, but we're also in the business of, like, you know, in the relationship business, right? And if we're not having more relationships, we're not asking or getting more people that are in the I don't know bucket into the I know bucket, then that's when we fail. And so that's my takeaway. Is I left there thinking, yes, I can do all the AI, I can do all these other things, and they're all great. But if I just focus my energy on talking to 10 new people every single day, then I will be able to be successful in whatever I'm trying to do. And if that's recruiting, awesome. If that is talking to buyers or sellers or whatever it is, just talking to fresh 10 new people. And I remember, I don't know if he's in this room or not, but I remember, you know, challenging people to do that. And you'd be surprised of how hard it is to talk to 10 new people for, like, you know, 5 days a week for 30 days. It's actually pretty difficult. Mike, you had a comment?
I would add to that, not just 10 new people, just talk to 10 people in your database or 5 people from your database. Your clients, not your past clients, your clients. Just call them, check in with them. You'll be surprised. They'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah. Who hates calling past clients or your sphere? Like, just doesn't like doing it. Can you be honest? And really, Matt, you raise your hand. You don't like talking to your past clients?
I mean, I like it, but I don't like love it. You know, it's like I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do than sometimes have those conversations, but
That actually surprises me a lot, you know, knowing from, you know, how much of your transactions is based on that.
well,
Yeah.
hopefully that encourages everybody. It's just work, right? Real estate's a contact sport.
It is. And I really don't like talking to my past clients. Not because I don't, you know, I'm not that agent that has like these where every single past client of mine becomes like my best friend. You know, like I'm like, you don't hang out with your lawyer, you know, like freaking you hire them when you need them, they do the job, you say thank you, and then you move on. Like I don't know, but I guess our industry is a little bit different and we need to be a little bit more warm and fuzzy. And I'm just
Hey,
not.
Nazar, I have a public challenge for you in front of everybody. And that is, Tom said, if anybody says the word pass, it's $100. So those of us that are actually with Fiv, I think we have $100 like jar that we have to throw into.
But here's the thing though, like how do you differentiate between a current client versus one that is no longer actively looking to buy or sell real estate?
What's the
They're still a
difference? It's the
client,
lifetime
though.
value of a client.
Yeah, they're still a
I
client.
understand that, but if you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh yeah, like my client, they might think that you're referring to someone that's, you know, transacting at that moment.
So Nazar, this is John, my client who I helped buy a house 3 years ago. I'm not gonna say
My
this.
repeat client, VIP client.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Okay, I'll try not to say past. All right, was
Takeaways
anybody
that
else?
I had from it.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Peter. I'm not up. So the biggest takeaways that I got from Summit and my coach as well, recapping it, he said, don't half-ass the 20,000 things that you heard about at the summit. Whole-ass at least just one thing, 1 to 3 things max.
Right.
And then 2, it kind of came up in the previous elite retreat, I think, which is just F your feelings, forget about how you feel, forget that your clients are going to think that it's awkward for you to reach out to them, and just do it because it's a job. Just like how anybody goes to work, they have to do stuff regardless how they feel, what's going on, just do it.
Yeah, and that's hard, right? Because emotions is what fuels any type of an action to take place. And so if you are feeling like crap or, you know, a lot of other stuff is happening, it's harder for us to be able to focus, or especially if you wake up and you're like, okay, today's gonna be a great day. And then you get a phone call from a seller or a buyer and an escrow, you know, cancels or falls apart, or a home inspection comes in, and there's so many things that can go wrong. And one of those things happen, then you feel like you've got a pit in your stomach and it just sucks. And all you want to do is like run away or, you know, get a whole bunch of ice cream and just eat your feelings, right? Like it's hard to do that. It's hard to be able to push those things aside and actually just get the job done either way. So it takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that. So yeah.
Well, the example that was given to me was, imagine that you're in the middle of a lawsuit or divorce or whatever, and your attorney is just like, hey, I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to really show up for court today, or I don't feel like going to court or something like that. How would you feel?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to ping off of that too, what Peter said is, and Josh, to encourage you, like Ben Lales, he did the talk or the case study on his videos. But I remember he said it's a business decision, it's not emotional. But I think some of us make the video portion emotional, but it's just like talking to your clients or making a video. Like we either make a business decision or we don't. We either want to do this for the next 10 years or we don't. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, when I make my videos, I don't ever listen to them. I guess as soon as I post it on social media, I don't ever watch it, listen to myself. Like I don't like how I sound and look on camera. So I just post it because I just know I need to, and then I move on. So
let me add to that regarding Ben's presentation. One thing that stood out for me was, I wrote the notes. He goes, who is your target audience? Is it renters, first-time buyers, first-time sellers, investors, whoever your target audience is? Every video that you do, you should ask yourself 3 questions. Does this further my brand identity? Number 2, am I speaking to my target audience? And number 3, am I providing value? If it's not one of those 3, don't post it, he said.
Well, and to add to
Right.
that, Mike, I loved that he said, look for your Ruth, because he shared that example of somebody's, was it their grandma that he ended up and then doing multiple transactions with that. You know, the grandma wasn't somebody that was, it was the grandma of a former classmate or something that it reached out to. So I know that that's always an excuse that we use. Well, so-and-so is already doing this video, or so-and-so is already doing that video. It doesn't matter. Look for your Ruth. Like, you're going to have that person that's going to be reached because of a video that reached out to your sphere or your people that are following you.
And he said that too. He goes, your content isn't to find strangers. You are shooting for your friends, family, and past clients. And you're shooting for referrals from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I
talked
think to
a
add to
person-
that, one thing that they brought up was about your brand. Make sure that you are clear on that, because then you need to build your brand around what your main goal and focus and clarity are.
Yeah. And I talked to a bunch of like video forward agents at Summit, and we're just talking about, oh, like, what do you do? What? And yeah, they're just like, go look at my Instagram page and just rip off whatever I'm doing. Like, your people don't follow me. They're in a totally different market. It doesn't matter. Just literally copy me. You know, no one cares, right? Like,
So
they're
I have some words about that. I just took Karen Carr's class. I don't know if any of you follow her. KARINCARR. It was like $100 for a week. I mean, it was a lot of content. And when it came to video, she was talking really about YouTube, but like, what is your niche, right? Like, ripping off what other people do is not necessarily your niche. Like, I'm in a luxury second home market. If I ripped off what Glenda was doing, no way would I attract the people that I want to attract here. But also, I was at Inman a few weeks ago, and somebody spoke about, and Tom has challenged us with this too, like, what does a $1 million producer look like? Like, what are their habits? And so what does they challenge us, what does a 25,000 follower, Instagram account look like? What does somebody who's not just getting the follows, but who's getting the actual business from it? Like, I'm making, millions of dollars, or I'm getting, depending on the market, right? Like, I'm getting 5 deals a year from my videos. What does that look like? How many videos do I have to make? So, like, look at video in the same way that you look at all of your other habits. That's what I took away from a conference that I don't think many of you were at.
So there was probably about a year ago, I was talking to my team about doing open houses, and we're discussing how many open houses need to be done to be able to have a transaction that happens directly associated with it. And they were getting discouraged. They're like, wow, so I've got to do like 20 open houses to do like one sale, right? We're just like looking at averages and things like that. I don't know what the exact ratio was, but it was something where like, they were like, oh, they were discouraged that it didn't just happen after like one open house. And sometimes it would, but on the average. And I think, how many videos do you have to actually put out there to be able to get enough traction, enough eyeballs for them to actually come back and connect with you and want to do business with you, assuming that they're in the same town or, relevantly close by, so you can actually transact with them or refer them business or refer into another agent. And it's a lot though, right? It's a lot of work. And so I would also I would look at those types of that content to be very, very hyper focused if you're in a specific area or where your clients are coming from, right? Like, if you are in a second home market and you realize that most of the buyers that are buying in your second home market live in a different area, then maybe when you are doing your videos, hashtagging and speaking to that group in those areas, in those cities. Does that make any sense? So anyway, just my 2 cents.
Yeah. And when I was saying like ripping off other agents, it's like using the scripts when you first start calling. Like, you're reading the script, and then over the months you create your own personality. But just to jump in it, make it easy, start the process. But definitely, like, I totally agree. You got to make your own personality and your own brand and image eventually. But
I don't know if you guys have subscribed to KCM or not, and they have like those videos that you can just basically read verbatim. Who's ever done that before? Anybody? Yeah. So, I mean, what's cool about that is I'll see my friends that are also realtors post those videos with the same graphs that they do. But you guys, I do the same exact video. Mine looks entirely different than theirs, right? Because it's me talking. It's my voice. It's my face. It's my inflections of my voice in how I say the things I say, even though we're saying the exact same words exact same slides. And at the end of the day, the people that, just like you said, follow me, don't follow those other people. So it's irrelevant, right? Like you can still do it. It's completely fine. Even if you do it all in the same marketplace, it's still fine, because someone that looks at my face might say, "Ooh, that's a really ugly looking guy. I don't want to talk to him," or "I hate his voice. He's super annoying." Or they might look at me and be like, "Wow, that guy's really handsome, and I want to hear what he has to say." So like, don't worry about who you're trying to appeal. Like either people like you or don't like you. I think the big thing with that is that if you don't post a video, then you'll never get a chance to either be liked or not liked, because you won't be known. And it's better to be known and not liked versus to be known and then, or not known at all. All right, I guess we've kind of beaten a dead horse with the whole video thing. Any other takeaways that you guys felt like was really cool, or something that you feel like you'd want to implement?
Just for whatever everybody else said, stop freaking putting excuses as to why you can't start doing it. The right camera, the right mic, the new phone, whatever, just do it and then perfect it as you go.
Yeah. Progress is better than perfect. Absolutely. Any other thoughts? Any other takeaways?
After Sean Akers spoke, I got his first book on audio, and it is really just so good and so interesting. He surprised me because he was funny under, like, he made the funniest comments. But anyway, I really enjoyed his session, and if you're into that, get his first book. It's really interesting.
What was it called? I think I left early that day.
Something happiness. Let me look.
My favorite thing with Sean was his delayed punchlines. Like he would like wait 3-4 seconds and then hit you with it. It was awesome.
It was funny.
And his sister, how he kept bringing his sister back into the story.
He was an excellent communicator.
He was a very good public speaker.
Was that Thursday?
Yeah, it was the guy talking about happiness and just how they measure depression, but they never would measure happiness. And it was really, really neat.
Yeah. That was the first thing I implemented was, his, 90 days of 3 different things each day that he's grateful for, he can't repeat. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
I've loved those that were there that have been doing that and sharing it on their social media that I follow. I love seeing those.
Yep.
His book is The Happiness Advantage.
Okay, cool. I'll take a look at it.
And is there one more quick takeaway is when Steve Harney was talking, I really love how he said, like, what's happening with interest rates? Well, how the heck am I supposed to know? Because I know I struggle with that, especially because I am like so much referral business and SOI and all that, where people, I feel like I have to be the expert. I have to have all the answers, but he's right. Like, dude, we don't know. Nobody knows the answer to some of these questions. So why do we feel like we have to have an answer? I know I put that pressure on myself, which I need to give myself the freedom to just be really honest, which I want to be anyways. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. You can't be the end all be all. No one has a crystal ball. If we did, we'd all be billionaires sitting on on an island somewhere, or in Destin, we'd be somewhere tropical. Okay, cool. Any other thoughts, takeaways, things that you feel like you'd want to either implement, or even if it's something that you feel like it's going to be 6 months out, but you thought it was a really neat idea to be able to share?
I thought, talking about KCM kind of spurred this memory of it, but I think when they were talking about like the amateur doesn't have the hard conversations and the professional has the hard conversations about how the buyer agent gets paid. They don't shy away from the money talk. It's the professional gets into the difficult conversations rather than is scared of them. I think that's big.
Yeah. And why do you think that is?
I mean, it grows your like image as the person they can trust, right? Like, because the agent, oh, don't worry about it, oh, it's it's nothing, oh, it's fine. Like, people don't like that. But when someone asks a question, or when someone comes forward with more information than the person may know they need, it's like, oh wow, I didn't know that, thanks for letting me know. But money's uncomfortable, so a lot of people want to shy away from it. But having those hard conversations, I think drives the respect of your clients, that oh, they know what they're talking about, and they're giving me the info, so they have my best interests in mind.
I think there's also like, I don't think they have a desire, or they don't know how to articulate value, and because of that, that's why they don't have that conversation, because they themselves don't think that they do. I've spoken to several agents out there that they feel like they overcharge for their services. And I feel like if you feel like you overcharge for your services, you probably are overcharging for your services because you are not giving enough value to your clients.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's important to be able to articulate that value, know it, believe it yourself. And so then when you present it, you're like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is why you're paying me this much money. Because if you didn't need or didn't have me, you wouldn't, right? You'd have to pay more, right? Just like a FSBO would have that experience. All right, you guys. Well, that's a wrap up, unless there's someone else that has anything that they would like to say. Hopefully you guys will join us next Thursday. We have these meetings every single Thursday at this time. And it usually goes between 30 and 40 minutes, depending on what we're talking about. And they're all also recorded and are on our website. If you guys could always go back and kind of listen to old ones if you end up skipping a week or whatever. So, all right. Well, otherwise, you guys have an amazing Thursday and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.